Hey, what's happening, comic book fans, comic book weekly fans? Welcome back to another episode. We're here this week. I just want to say that I'm sorry that we left you guys hanging. If you guys are looking for the link or you saw the live show and there was no live show, but I had an accident and I literally stumbled on my bathroom, like on my own feet. I stumbled into the bathroom door. I hit my nose onto the bathroom door. It was like all sore right here. But what happened was it caused a big migraine and I just felt horrible. And I couldn't push through. And so like I bailed out at the last minute. So why we did not have a show last week is totally my fault. So I apologize about that. We're going to make up for it today. Of course, guys, you know me. I'm Mike Spider Slayer, Comic Book Corner 2.0. Today we got Brant Fowler on the show with me side by side.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? It is all Mike's fault. Totally.
It absolutely
we're like, we can't do the show without Mike, so we're just going to cancel.
Yeah. And but to replace Kat, at least for a little while, because Kat's not here, she's on vacation. We have a special guest, so we're going to introduce that guest right now. Brant, go ahead, kick it off.
Yeah. So we are happy to welcome, and tell me to get this right, Ruben Najera.
Yep, perfect.
All right, got it right that time. Welcome, Ruben Najera, to the show. Ruben is a writer, and this is your first writing gig, right? This is your debut.
I've been writing for quite some time.
Okay.
Before I got into published with Archie and all that, I had done a lot of like extreme sports publications because in my 20s I was a skateboarder, and so I've done stuff for like ESPN 5-1s. I think I wrote one of the first articles for like the Olympics before skateboarding.
Oh wow!
So I was already doing like a lot of writing, and I've always written, but this is just like
your first comic stuff.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've done some indie comic stuff too, but this is like my first big Archie thing with them, Yeah.
Right. Awesome. So yeah, you're going to share your story with us, how you got into all that stuff that you just talked about, which is a really cool and interesting story, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. But also you have the best Archie comic ever that is coming out in about a month. So we'll talk about that as well. So I think we're just going to kind of get out of the way and let you tell your story, and we'll chime in if we have questions and that kind of thing. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Firstly, Mike, I'm glad to see you're good, man, because I've taken my share of slams through the years. You know what I mean? So I get how gnarly that could be, but
I heard you were stunt guy, so that's a little bit more.
That's what I'm saying.
Me being bumbly and then fight, going into the door.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a tennis instructor. I'm a head tennis pro. And I get a lot of balls, to the face and to the body and stuff like that. But again, nothing compared to probably what you went through.
Well, I mean, shoot, I've had my share of injuries, and most of them didn't come from skateboarding at all, which is the funny part. They came from like other things, other stuff like on film sets or something has none to do with anything like a car accident. You know what I mean? Like something that. So yeah, things could happen at any whim, at any notice. Sometimes it's not even your fault, you know what I mean? Something sometimes just come out of the blue. So yeah, I feel you, man. I hear you. When I heard that, I was like, shoot,
It's just the stupid stuff, like how you get hurt. That's what's horrible about it.
Yeah, actually, just before I dive into the story, like you're saying, it's the random stuff like that. Some people ask, like, one of my worst injuries was skating, and really when I was skating growing up, I was always aware the goal is to land a trick, right? Not to get hurt or anything. You want to roll away. So I was always very like aware of what I had to do. And one of my worst injuries was actually I was practicing in a park in my hometown, El Centro, California. It was called Buckland Park. And there's this it's like this flat of cement and then like this kind of Ramada building. And on the other side of a Ramada building, someone kicked a soccer ball in the air. And I was just practicing my tricks, getting ready for a contest. This is many years ago. And I had my headphones on and I was just skating, minding my own business. And like, I was kind of on a roll. I was like landing everything. I was like, heck yeah, And then like on one trick, when I popped up, it had my hand in the air. and I couldn't hear it. And the ball, I guess the person had kicked the ball from all over the top of the building, and the ball hit directly on my finger, right? So all of a sudden I got this mass impact on my finger out of nowhere. And I looked at my
Wow.
finger, and it's completely this way.
Oh, wow.
It's
That's the
completely
That's crazy.
dislocated, right? And so I grabbed it and I snapped it back, like what, you know what I mean? Like, and it's things like that. Like, it wasn't, I didn't like fall or anything. It's
Right.
just like a total fluke thing, you know what I mean? And it's just things like that it's just wild, or like this past year, I've been dealing with a spinal injury because I had stopped at this is actually May 4th of last year. So Star Wars, May the 4th.
Yeah.
I was parked at a train. So a train was passing on a railroad and the two beams were down. I was the car in front, and I had just gotten that car too, a new car. So it's a Tesla. So it notifies you when things are like nearby and stuff.
Yeah.
I still hadn't gotten used to it. And so it started beeping, 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 beeping. And so I edged forward because a beeping, I was like, what's going on? Is it like detecting the metal? Like, what is it with, like, does the new car do that or what? Like detecting the railroad and the magnets or something? So I edged forward, and it turns out it was a car behind me that wasn't slowing down. And it ended up being a Border Patrol agent who was on his phone or something. And he hit me full impact, and my car locked up. And my car saved basically I'm here talking because the car saved me because it locked up. The only downside was, since I edged forward, I hit the steering wheel full impact to my head and I got a concussion. I was like, ow.
Oh wow.
And the next thing you know, I wake up and like I kind of like pulled over to the side somehow, and the car kind of like autoed. I don't know. I'm still kind of talking crazy, but
yeah, like how can you remember something like that anyway?
Yeah. And I missed the train. Like, I mean, the crazy thing is the car I had before that, the brakes weren't working properly. So yeah, I wouldn't even probably be here, honestly. It was pretty crazy. This is like a year ago. And so I had to go through the whole thing, like my spine, my back, a bunch of MRIs and stuff. But stuff like that, you just don't expect those things. So, everyone out there, take care of yourselves. You know what I mean? Watch out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Always be alert. Sometimes it's not even if you're a good driver, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter. Or just little things. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. But yeah, God's pretty good, man. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy because like you said, you do like skateboarding, which can be really dangerous, and the stunt stuff as well. It's crazy that you get hurt outside all that.
Yeah, but I think it's just because when I'm skating, I mean, at least me, like I am like 1,000% aware of what my goal is and what I'm supposed to do. So when I'm doing, I'm like, avoid that crack. Okay, that's right there. Or I'm gonna wait for these people to pass. All right, the car's gone. Now I'm going. So I think I'm so like on top of it that like I don't let the errors happen. But it's when you take your guard off of stuff, you know what I mean? It's like when you're not even like, and that seems to be like when you get the most jacked up, you know what I mean? It sucks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I never really had any injuries like actually like skating, you know what I mean? So I'm pretty fortunate for that. But yeah, it's just other things. It's so wild, dude. Yeah, crazy. But yeah, sorry for that tangent, but I just
it's fine. Yeah.
Never know. Like things like that happen. You know what I mean?
My brother used to skateboard a lot when he was a teenager. He's almost 30 now. When he was 14, he was he never had an accident, never fell or anything. This other kid threw another skateboard at him, and he fell and cracked his skull open. And it was a pretty scary thing at the time. But it's just crazy because he had never had any kind of problems before that. So.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff at skate parks, dude. Some horror stories. I've seen like everything from people who weren't supposed to be there, and a guy on a bike's coming, and they'll stick a stick in the spoke, the thing, and then the guy go flying. And you've seen a kid whip a scooter. Those little scooters are crazy, the metal ones, and they like jump up and it spins it.
Right.
It's pegged the dude in the face. Next thing you know, he's like bleeding. And it's like I just, you see all these crazy things like through the years, like it's just like so gnarly. Yeah.
For sure. That's crazy, man.
It's crazy. But
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just so I mean, kind of spinning back until I got into all this. I mean, I've always been writing since I was. I mean, I could even take it back to before I was even writing, and I was just a kid playing with action figures. You know what I mean? And just building my own worlds and my own stories, and that's a form of writing, in my opinion. You're just creating worlds and world building, And that's seriously the number one thing I love about writing, is that you can do like these $1 billion Hollywood box office productions, and and you can, you know what I mean? Sky's the limit. You don't need a budget. You can create it and write it, and you get a really good artist, and they can make it a reality. And you can take characters to far off lands, or create your own worlds. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
it's just so much fun in that. You know what I mean? I just adore it. I always have, and it's a passion. It's something I always did do it, and I've been doing it, and now to go full circle here and actually be writing for Archie Comics on this is a dream, because that was realistically the first comic book I ever actually like purchased.
That's grants too.
Yeah. Because before that, I had my grandmother gave me like a hand-me-down Spectacular Spider-Man comic that was on like the dryer in the garage, and I still to this day don't know who it was, but it was super beaten. You know what I mean? And then when after that comic, when I was like at the department store, my mom would be like to me and my younger brother, like, you know, pick one thing, that's it, nothing else. You know what I mean? Because the toys in the toy aisle were too expensive and so on and so forth. But in the checkout lane, you can get one thing, you know, where there's like a candy, something like that. And I always pick I remember seeing the Archie double digests.
The double digest. Yeah.
Nick, I want that, you know? And so I knew by getting the Archie comic, you know, my brother would pick the candy. He'd eat the candy, he'd be done. And I'd have that book for like next week, the week after. I'd be trying to like trace the pictures. Like I got a lot out of it.
Got a lot out of that. Yeah.
Same with me, man. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so many memories with that. And,
for sure.
I go really way back with that. So I've known about the Archie characters since I was like, you know, 6 years old. You know what I mean? At that time, I think the double digests were like $1.50, $1.25, something like that. But they packed a punch because they came with a lot in those little things, you know. And,
and go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and just I mean, at that time, you guys know, because we're all, you know, essentially probably the same age, but maybe the newer generation. I mean, back in the day, there was no screens in cars and laptops and stuff like that. There was no iPads and smartphones. So like literally, like when you traveled or like went, like for instance, I spent a lot of my childhood in Mexico and crossing back and forth in that border, the U.S. And when you're in that line trying to cross back from Mexicali over here, you're sitting there for like 5 hours sometimes, you know. And like remember, there's no screens, there's no nothing. So I was in that book, like, you know what I mean? That was like my entertainment. Yeah, that was the iPad back in the day. You know what I mean?
You read, or you would draw, or you would do whatever, or you just stare out the window.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all you could do. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I have a long history with it, and cool. Just come full circle, and on this book, it's the, you know, the best Archie comic ever. It's a one shot. Everyone's gonna enjoy it because first off, it's a one shot, and it's like the most action packed Archie comic. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of it, but it really is like the most action packed Archie comic I've ever read. It's exciting. There's all kinds of cool things going on in it. And
hold on one second, Ruben.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna pull up pictures? I was just about to say that, Brent.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This way the audience can see what it is.
Yeah. So the best Archie comic ever. We got a really sweet team on it too, actually. So I get to work with Betty and Veronica on the story. I write a super spy tale that's in it, and it's called Operatives. And in Operatives,
is it this one?
Yeah.
Is this yours? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cover A. I freaking love that cover, by the way. That's the that's that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tim Seeley did the cover. Georgia Sposito did all the artwork for my story. So we were partnered together on this. And a lot of you may know Georgia from the Doctor Who comics for Titan. So she's the one that does a lot of the interiors for those. And she's the one that I was partnered with. And it's a super spy story. Think like the if you like all the femme fatale movies, like the Luc Besson films, or like, you know what I mean, anything like that with a female lead, just action packed. That's what this is. It's a cool story, and we have there's actually a first appearance of a villain in this book.
Oh, wow.
Big Carp. So I got to create him in here, and he's like the mob boss leader. They got like these little fish hook insignias. It's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's my story that I got to write in there. And then there's also 2 other stories in here. One written by Fred Van Lent. Some of you know him from like the Valiant stuff.
Mhm.
I think he did like Archer and Armstrong, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the artist on that one is Tim Seeley, which we all know Tim Seeley, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
course.
Backslash and what do you do, Nightwing. He did a lot of stuff actually. And they do the story that has the super Archie character that's here. And
Right.
that story is called Once We Were Heroes. So that's Tim Seeley and Fred Van Lint. And then the other story that's in here is the one done by Jed Daugherty and Aubrey Sitterson, and that's the Jughead the Bulgarian. So it's like
Okay.
Jughead is like a Conan kind of, you know.
Yeah.
I love this cover though. It's definitely eye-catching, because if you sat there and you were like never an Archie fan or something
Yeah.
like that, and you'd be like,
Yeah.
you know, you're used to Archie just being like you said, Archie Digest in the stores or whatever, and you see this and you're kind of like, wow, this looks different, you know, so this would entice you to pick that up.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if I have shoot, did I keep it right here? Let me see. I actually bought the original artwork when I saw
really?
it for sale. Yeah, I was like, dude, this
Nice.
is my first published. Let me see if I got it right here.
Yeah, sure.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's cool. All these stories sound really cool. I like seeing like when you take characters like that and do something completely different with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done that, you know, over the years with Archie, of course. And it's always fun to see different interpretations of the character.
What was the best Archie comic that you read, Brant?
Oh man, that's a hard pick. Oh, here we go.
Oh, hey, cool.
So I don't know if you guys catch it in the visuals here, but
Oh
so the original, the OA, right? The original art. So yeah, I just reached out to Tim. I was like, dude, I'm gonna buy it, dude. It's
that's really
in
nice.
my collection forever. But yeah, this is obviously this is like inked, right? So Tim, and then he inked it, and then they obviously did the colors in. I think Matt Hearns did the colors for this one.
Nice.
He did it digitally, obviously, but yeah, pretty cool, man. I love it, man. I'm gonna frame this bad boy, and it's gonna stay in my PC for life, you know.
Yeah, that's something that you don't get rid of. I mean, it's a project you worked on, so it's like, and you have a chance to get the artwork. That's pretty badass right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, really nice. So you've been you know, I read that you were a comic fan and you had your own comic book store.
Yeah, so actually, and you know what? Actually, I don't think I've publicly said it yet, but we just got nominated for our second Eisner.
Oh, nice! Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Metahumans Comics. So this is our 7th year. On May 2nd, we hit 7 years in business.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so and it unfortunately the first year we got nominated for an Eisner was the year the pandemic hit, so we didn't get to attend the celebration because there was none. You know what I mean?
Figures, yeah.
But I don't know. With the world's getting a little better now. You know what I mean? Little by little, and hopefully that everything will change. Obviously, they're gonna bring back the convention, the big conventions, right? They're already starting to do that. But we've been around 7 years. There was no comic book store in our county. I know this sounds weird, but there's nowhere to buy comics before I opened the store.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 2 types of customers that would come in when we first opened. Either ones who have never touched or read or physically held a comic book in their life, or people who hadn't had one for like over a decade and they used to collect. Wow. They had, you know what I mean? So it was really interesting, and I absolutely loved when we first opened, because just people like they would come in there like I don't even know where to start. You know what I mean? So we were like curating and kind of building a community here with that. And yeah, we're still here. We're still moving. We made it through the pandemic. We did everything we had to do to adapt. All the online sales and everything, all the online auctions. We adapted. We did everything we had to do to stay open. You know what I mean? As a brick and mortar store, which is tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, we pulled through, and just really proud of the store.
That's great. How big is your store? Like, how many square feet is it about?
Well, our store actually was pretty huge before, but when before the pandemic hit, we kind of like we were still open, but it's kind of almost like we hibernated. We actually moved into a smaller spot. So our store right now, which we're still in, is actually a really small space. It's not very big. Actually have the square. I had to fill out a sheet for the Eisner. I had to put the square footage on it, so I can't remember off the top of my head of our current spot. But if you look at photos like online, you can kind of see it looks just packed, but it's because it's not too large. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like my shop too, because my shop is really compact also.
Yeah. So it's small, but you go in and you're just like looking everywhere, like, whoa, like it's just so much. You know what I mean? Even the posters on the wall make you feel like it's really full. But yeah, we just got comics, action figures, new comics, old comics, key issues, new figures, old figures, whatever's coming out, we got it. Whatever, we might have a vintage Ninja Turtles. We might have, I mean, we've had crazy stuff in there. We've had like Amazing Fantasy 15 in there before, you know, first Spider-Man, everything from that to like, you know, CGC graded books, you know, crazy 9.8s of stuff, and then just stuff that comes out on regular release. You know what I mean? Just 3, you know, cover price books. So we're pretty all over the place. Also because we buy collections and stuff locally when they do come up. So it's always changing. You know what I mean?
You have online presence as well?
We do because we in the past we've done a lot of store exclusives. So with the store exclusives, I mean we've worked with Marvel, DC, IDW, Image, Valiant, Dark Horse, pretty much everybody you think of. We've done store exclusives with Long Dynamite.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We've done all kinds of books through the years. With the pool of artists that we've had that have worked with us and stuff has been pretty incredible. We've had like Joseph Michael Linsner did our Batman cover. David Nakayama. Yeah, David Nakayama is a good friend of mine. He did our Nonstop Spider-Man, and he did our He-Man. We did a book with the one that Kevin Smith did. And actually, Kevin Smith signed a bunch of our, like a good amount of our books that we had for our Masters of the Universe variant, which that one actually is sold out for us like quite some time ago. But yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. I really like the Ninja Turtles one we did because the artist who did that cover is a friend of mine. His name's Dave Garcia. He did the original Archie Ninja Turtle comic.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. I have that. I still have that to this day, I think.
So
that's cool.
My roots with Archie run really deep because those are the turtle comics that I read. The Archie
me too.
Yeah, those Archie ones. Yep.
So that first issue, if you remember it, it's the cover and some of the interiors, I think too. If you look at it on the label, it's Dave Garcia. He worked on those, and he's a friend of mine, and he's actually the only other individual in our entire county that is, other than myself, that's involved like in the comic industry to some extent somehow, you know. And back when he used to do the Archie stuff, the Turtles, and he also used to work on The Tick for a while as well.
Yeah.
So he's a friend of mine, and when we had that shot to do that turtle book, I hit him up. I was like, "Would you like to draw the turtles again? First time in, you know what I mean, X amount of years, decades actually." And he was all in, and we did that cover. And the funny, cool thing is, like, on our variant for TMNT number 100, on the bottom right corner, because he knows I like Mondo Gecko. I've always been a fan of Mondo Gecko. Skateboarding lizard, and he drew me skateboarding with Mondo Gecko. So like, there's this little skater guy with the striped shirt. It's a little Easter egg, you know.
That's awesome.
And the coolest thing is Peter Laird, who's co-creator of the Ninja Turtles, actually he approved it, loved it. He like was like his favorite little tidbit. I like how you added that, and then you know Dave and them were telling him like, yeah, that's actually supposed to be the owner of the store and stuff like that. So for personal reasons, that's like my favorite variant we've done because it's really special. Just all the linkage that goes in between, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's cool. And then everyone in the chat here, we got the link there. So if you want to go on to metahumanscomics.com, you can definitely check it out.
That's the cover.
That's it, right?
Yeah, that's on the bottom right.
See if I can zoom in. Yeah. You can kind of see him right there.
Yeah. So I'm skating with Mondo. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is funny, dude. That's awesome.
Really cool.
Really cool.
It's this little Easter egg that's in there that people probably won't even catch it, but once they know what it is, they're like, "Holy shit!" You know, they're like, "Oh,
yeah."
They'll catch it afterwards.
That's awesome.
cool thing is that cover is actually a homage to the movie poster.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
But now Jenica, the new turtle's coming out of the sewer. It's her time to come out of the sewer.
Right.
And join
Yeah.
this. So pretty fun cover. Yeah, that was fun.
Absolutely.
What would you say is your? I mean, you've been reading comics for pretty much a very long time. What's your favorite character?
Man, I got a lot. I guess I go by like it's funny because my three favorite characters in Archie are Betty, Veronica, and Archie, and I got to work with them, and that's pretty exciting because like I get to like put a little stamp on you know what I mean. And then our awesome editor Jamie Lee Ratante, shout out to her. She's actually the one who was writing Betty and Veronica before, so for her to be my editor and go back and forth with her was an honor, and I really enjoyed that process. She's super knowledgeable, super helpful. So I got to work with my favorite Archie characters. That's them right there. And then I guess I'd have to go by like different properties because I'm such a fan of all this stuff that like I don't really have, you know what I mean? Like if you ask me like DC, I like Blue Beetle a lot, the Jaime Reyes, just because he's Mexican American.
That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
I just think that's so cool. I actually have a lot of the original Blue Beetle art. Like I was probably only got one, so I was getting them like a long time ago. So a lot of like the original Blue Beetle covers. I have those, so I'm actually like really excited for the film when it comes out, when they're working on it. Right? I really like obviously the Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles was a big part. I actually started skateboarding because of the Ninja Turtles. I know it sounds random, but it was the first movie where Donatello and they come out in the sewer and they're
on skateboards.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That was my first time seeing a skateboard. It was that. It wasn't even like someone around my neighborhood or something. It was that. And I was like, what are they doing? And I was looking at a turtle doing that. And then I wanted one. And then my first skateboard was actually a Ninja Turtle bootleg skateboard from a swap meet.
Nice.
It wasn't even like a real brand. It was a bootleg. So the turtles were miscolored. They were like blue and like, it was so, bootleg. It's like, it's probably worth a lot now because a lot of those Star Wars bootlegs and all that stuff has a market. But like I have a long history with the Ninja Turtles. I have some like Ninja Turtle movie props. I'm like that big of a fan.
Wow, that's good. Nice. That's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And then just super fan of that. And I actually have one of the props I have, but I haven't. It's like in a cargo container, but since I'm probably going to be moving, I don't want to take it out to wherever its final destination is. But it's Leonardo from the first movie. Yeah, the actual Leonardo. Yeah. So I haven't taken pictures of anything, but it used to be
Ninja Turtles were my my first independent comic. That I ever read when they were in Mirage. Yeah, and I remember like my friend who was also into comics, and I was just getting into comics because of him. Really, he was just like, you got there's these things with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they're pretty badass. They got like swords, and they got this bad guy by the name of Shredder, and it's black and white. I'm like, what? Yeah, and so we started looking at all this stuff, and like, man, this is great. And I remember the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic that I owned was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 5.
Nice.
The reprint, the reprints with the who are they? The Triceratop guys.
Yeah, Triceratops.
Yeah, and that was the one that I wound up getting first, and then I started reading Tales of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
but those were my very first ones. But yeah, that was my first independent comic that I ever read.
That issue 5 that you have is credited as the first color Ninja Turtles, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was when they first had them in with the color and stuff. Because number 4 was still black and white. Even the cover on number 4, it's like a greenish white.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and I have both. I have over the years I've managed to find an issue 5 first print, and then I have that second print. So
did you ever get the first print of number 1 at some point? Or second, third print?
I have. I've seen a couple of like the printings down the road, but I've never. They
got really expensive now.
Yeah, they're just incredibly expensive. But I remember though, like when those books were even really popular back then, but you couldn't find them because the print run was so low.
Yeah. I secured one a long time ago, and I actually had two. I sold one, and one of them, the other one's never gonna get sold. I'm keeping it forever, but I do have one, and that's one of like my grails, and I'm just holding on to that.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I would
I'm not
never
even,
get rid of that either. That's a
yeah,
Yeah.
I still have it. It's graded and everything. It's like one
Is
of
it-
the, yeah, it's I think there's only, oh man, I don't want to get it wrong. There's a low print. There's like, I don't know if it's somewhere between 25 and 35 or something 9/8 in the world of that
Yeah.
book, and I do have one.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've
that's
had it for a
great.
long time, and so I've had it before the price bump went up, but yeah, I
Mhm.
don't intend to sell it. Actually, the other one that I had, I probably should have held on to it longer before I sold it. You know what I mean? Still sold it good, but probably should have held on to it longer. But I mean, hey, it's like that happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's like you
Yeah,
never
it's always a
know.
risk. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's going to go higher, and the way comics have exploded lately, like it's just been insane.
Yeah, yeah. But I do have one, and that one's one of my babies. You know what I mean? Holding on to that.
Yeah.
That's staying in the display.
So would you
Um,
say that's your most prized comic then?
Yeah, that is without question my most
Yeah.
prized comic. Yeah, that one,
Yeah,
the
it makes
TMNT
sense, yeah.
one and 9/8 white pages. I mean, it's like there's so few of them. That one and have a Swamp Thing one. It's the only one that's a 9/8 that CGC cert, because you know CGC has to witness it to give you the yellow label.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's signed by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, and they both
Oh, nice.
unfortunately passed away. But they both
Right.
signed it, and it's a 9/8, so it's beautiful. You know, it's like historical. Every time I look at it, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I have this too. You know, so
Yeah.
I guess those two are like my grails. You know,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, congratulations on getting those. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I've had them for a while. Like I'm like such a super fan of things that like I'm like I'm not even buying it because it's like all those things I wasn't even buying them when they were like, you know, as trendy as they are now. I got them a long time ago because I just genuinely like when I really like something, it could be super obscure and I'll just dive into it. Just even if I'm the only guy that like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely.
that's just who I am. Yeah, so
I think that's kind of the way like Brant and I collect too. Like we read a ton of comics, right?
Yeah.
And if something is worth something in the future, then that's a bonus, right?
It is, yeah.
You know, it's just like who would have ever thought that, like, for instance, like Ms. Marvel would be a popular comic book, or Spider-Gwen would be a popular comic book, but then
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Yeah. Right?
Exactly. I bought
Those prices, dude.
I bought that Marvel Spotlight book randomly. I don't know, going back already 7 years ago, I paid $8 for that book.
Wow.
$8, yeah. And now that book has just exploded, you know.
Oh, that book has super exploded. In our store 7 years ago when we opened, we had a first appearance of that Marvel Spotlight. It was Werewolf by Night, his first appearance.
Yeah, his first appearance is the Werewolf. I have a Marvel Spotlight with his first solo story.
Yes, the yellow cover.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So we had a Werewolf by Night priced at $100 in our glass display, right? This was like 7 years ago. It sat there for so long. Nobody touched it. Nobody bought it. Nobody wanted it. I mean, that in that book, it wasn't even graded or anything. It could have been pressed. I mean, the thing's probably worth like $1,000-something now, and like no one was even touch it for $100 back then with like a stick. And like eventually, someone somewhere along the way bought it, obviously, but like it sold for super cheap. And like, look at it now. Like you can't even. Like, it's just insane. Some of the things that take off. You know what I mean?
Oh
and,
absolutely. Well, even look at She-Hulk, for instance. I mean, the trailer dropped today, and just like, but even that. The original Savage She-Hulk issue 1 was not a very expensive book, and now it keeps going up in value. And even Sensational She-Hulk, that book was like a $5 book, and now even that book is jumping up in price.
Yeah, those you used to be able to find those 9/8s on that Savage She-Hulk 1 signed by Stan Lee pretty frequently. There was a couple of them signed by Stan that had high grades, and you're right, that thing just boosted in price. I still need to watch that trailer. I actually haven't seen the She-Hulk trailer, but I'm looking for. I watch everything that's superhero related. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I watch
us too.
everything though. Like, and even if they say it's bad, I just watch it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it
I
out.
don't care.
That's the way I am. Kat's more. She's pickier than I am, but yeah.
Yeah,
I tend to watch it all.
Sometimes if they say it's really bad, I just want to watch it more. I'm just like,
Yeah, just to see how bad it is. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Sometimes
awesome.
people say things are really good, and I watch. I was like, that wasn't really that good. You know, it's also the flip side too. You know. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So what we're going to do real quick, I think we're going to continue our show, but the one thing that we wanted to ask you is we're going to dive in real quick. We usually do this towards the end, but we wanted to do this segment with you of what your most anticipated comics are for next week, because I'm assuming you still read comics, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what are your top 3 books that you're looking forward to coming out this week?
Well, I always have. I know I own a store, so some people think it's all just, but I genuinely read them as well. I mean, I actually just read the final issue of The Last Ronin because I've been following that series.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And
Somebody in our comments asked what you thought about that actually.
yeah, I dug it. I mean, I'll say this. Boy, did they take a long time for those issues to come out. They really
Yeah, they did.
I'm sure they lost some interest from some people from taking too long on them, but I enjoyed it. As you know, I don't know how much I should say. There's a spoil. Have you guys read that one yet or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't really know if this is a spoiler or not, but I was gonna say something about like the little turtles at the end. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, but that piques my interest. You know what I mean? And I'm just curious if like because issue 2 in that run is first appearance of Casey Marie Jones, and that will spike because she obviously is kind of the one that continues the legacy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that last run in number 2, I'm curious if after number 5 ended, if that's a thing where you know what I mean. Could that be a bigger key down the line?
Yeah,
You know what I
I mean, it could be. I mean, like you could say that, like, in the future it'd be like issue 5, first image of future turtles, and these
Yeah.
4 new turtles. Like, say if it does become something in the future, which I think it would, just because I could see a lot of people piquing people's interest in that.
Oh,
What would you think? What would you think their 4 names would be?
Some other painters, other painters' names. I know, it's funny you're saying that, but I actually kind of I was kind of thinking that like what how would they carry on after this? Like, what would be the other painters' names, or maybe some other historical figures from that time frame? That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, would they move on from the Renaissance and like do like more modern, artists or something like that?
Yeah,
that would be kind of cool though. Modern day artists, that would be cool. I'm hoping that they do something like that. The next generation of turtles or something like that. That would be awesome.
I mean, they're doing a great job too on the I mean, even based like on like you're saying, like what 3 books I look forward to. I mean, I'm really liking that IDW run, just the ongoing. I'm really digging it. But I don't know, just turtles in general. I mean, I've been such a fan that I just kind of read everything that they put out and just kind of follow it along like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that's like their well, I don't know. Let's see, because IDW, the G.I. Joe stuff has been going on for quite some time too. Actually, now they're pretty far along with that as well.
I think they're wrapping up their run on that because where's it going back to? It's going to Skybound, I think.
It's going by Skybound. All that.
Yeah.
Most of that IDW property stuff is going to Skybound eventually.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? I just saw that too. I also saw that Marvel lost the Conan, right? They lost the Conan.
Yeah. That I think they just announced that like today or something. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
But,
so that's cool. So Turtles is one. What else?
Yeah.
Anything from Marvel or DC?
Yeah. So usually, I think Turtles is like on issue 129 coming up, I think.
Yeah.
And I usually always pick up like Kevin Eastman covers, like for the PC. And then I know there was a new Elvira book coming out, right? Elvira in Horrorland.
That's from Dynamite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's a #1 issue, and Dynamite always has like a ton of covers, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
But the books they're funny, they're silly. There's always like who's the artist? I think his name's John Royal. He was doing all the GI Joe
Oh, yeah.
covers. He usually has
Right.
cool cover art. I haven't seen the cover to his yet on that one, but I saw that he was doing a cover. And yeah, probably that one sounds fun. And it's a #1, and you're not really like lost. And I haven't followed the other one, so kind of just start from scratch, right? So Turtles, that, and snap. What else was really I mean, because Ronin just ended. What else was I reading right now? I mean, I usually just get the Archie, anything that Archie puts out, like the jumbos, because sometimes they'll put reprinted stories and they'll re-release them,
Mhm.
And there's a book coming out that Archie has, which has the first appearance of a new character, but that one's not out yet. So usually just that, like another one of the Archie jumbos, just for some entertainment, just read. I like reading the old stories too,
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't aware, but a lot of those, they're like a hybrid of old and new. They'll reprint stories that existed before, and they'll mix them, and they'll add like 1 or 2 new stories.
Mhm.
So you're actually getting like new content in those books,
Gotcha.
and they pack a punch because they have a lot in them. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. We have one of our commenters ask any opinions on Sonic.
Where are we at on Sonic right now? What issue is it at?
I don't know.
I don't know because I currently don't read Sonic.
Right.
So
Me
you
either.
know.
What's interesting about Sonic is I actually just watched the first Sonic movie. I had not seen it. I just saw it, and it was good. I liked it.
It was a lot better than I thought it would be.
Movie. Yep, absolutely.
There's the that's the John Royal variant, right?
Right. Yeah.
Cool, that's cool. Man. I like that.
Yeah, he kills it on the art. He's very man, I forgot where I read this. I think he went to like him and like he's like from that camp of like what J. Scott Campbell and who are the other ones? Is it like Scott Williams or I don't want to get the names wrong, but there's a group of those guys where they used to work together, and it's kind of sort of why they all have a similar style.
Okay, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Okay.
Kind of like Paul Green kind of draws like them too, Paul Green over at like Cinescope, and like they all kind of have a similar style, and I dig it, but I always felt like Royal put a little bit more detail, and Campbell usually sometimes he'll just do kind of like the pin up the character. But John Royal, you'll see him like get in there with like the GI Joes, and you'll have like the weapons and a snowmobile, and like
yeah. He's done quite a few. Some of those GI
I always
Joe
like this
covers
GI
are
Joe
absolutely phenomenal. Like really, really good.
I agree.
Yeah. And speaking of GI Joe, that the classified the figure line from Hasbro, that's super awesome too. I don't know if you guys aware of those, but those figures are really cool. They do a good job on them. They give you a lot of accessories because I guess since that's their property, they don't have to pay for the licensing, so they don't short you on weapons, and you know what I mean. So that's why when you see those Joe classified figures, they got like 3 holsters and a place to put the sword and a pistol, and
those are cool.
And, like, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Joe.
You talking my language now. I'm a huge GI Joe fan. If you can't tell, I got this big Scarlet statue.
Oh hell yeah, that's the Bishuju, right?
Yeah.
Nice. There's a color variant of that too, but I like the OG one you got.
Yeah. I saw the color variant too, but yeah, I think
that one's gone up in value because that's the OG color one.
Right.
I'm looking forward to the Don Moreno that they're gonna put out. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
One of my favorite comics right now is the GI Joe Saturday Morning Adventures.
Oh
yeah.
That is fun.
That's a really fun.
It's a nice throwback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then you still got Larry Hama's still involved with the original GI Joe, which is incredible because Larry. I mean, how many books can you think of where the OG writer, you know what I mean, OG like still artist involved. Is still that's crazy, and he's
you just don't see that.
No. I mean, like very few names like Terry Moore or something, something like that. Have done those long runs.
Yeah, Hama's he's a cool dude. I've met him in person. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I've done an interview with him. I haven't met him in person, but yeah, he seemed really cool then too.
Yeah, he's one of our one of the legends that we still got out there right now that we should appreciate while he's still here. Because I mean, I mean, rest in peace. We just lost George Perez and Neil Adams. It's like
Yeah.
two icons, you know, two
Absolutely.
big icons. And I used to see, you know, George Perez. This is unfortunate, but I was supposed to go to MegaCon, right before the pandemic hit, and the pandemic hit, and I had to cancel the flight and all that stuff. But I was actually going to MegaCon for a Diamond Retailer Summit, and my purpose to go to the show was to get a Signature Series book and meet George Perez, and that ended up not happening. And then he canceled his CGC signing when it happened, also because of health, and I just felt so bad for him, because it's like he's such a nice guy, and like he was so like. I mean, there was this thing where he was like, he just wanted to go to the show, and he just wanted to just hug his fans. Like, he doesn't even care like about, you know what I mean? He just wanted to enjoy moments, and
I've met him too, because he lived. I mean, he's here in Florida where I live.
Yeah.
Like, his town is my town, and I met him in. This is going back a few years now, but there used to be a shop in the local mall that I go to. And I met him, and he signed a bunch of Superman comics that I have. And yeah, you were right. I've never met a more genuine and nicer guy than George Perez. I was like, this man loves his job. You know,
smile.
Took his time to talk to you. Didn't care how long the line was. He wanted to make sure that he had enough time with me, and I will always remember that, man. It was so good.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I've never had the pleasure. I was at one show with him, and the one opportunity I had to like go around and get stuff signed or whatever, he had like this huge line, and I didn't have time to wait in it, unfortunately. So
yeah, me too. Me too. I didn't get. I was taking initiative to go meet him, and obviously apparently it didn't happen. But I always wanted to in person. And then Neil Adams is just a force in himself. I mean, that man with business and everything that he did, his work. I mean, he was working like all the time. He never stopped. You know what I mean? Neil Adams is on it all the time. And also, you know, shout out to Neil's son, Joel, too. He's always supported MetaHumans, our store. He's always been a supporter. The whole family is awesome. And I actually did get to speak with Neil numerous times. We actually had a booth close to him at LA Comic Con one year. And I got to speak with him about just like business and sales and stuff like that, because he always had this really cool booth where it was like his booth. It was like the Neil Adams booth. And like you just go there and just in awe just of all the work he has in there. And he was just not just a great artist, but because a lot of times, you know, we'll have some artists, but they might not be like the best salesman, or, you know, they just want to draw and worry about that. And Neil had it all, man. Like, he was like negotiating and like, and you know, I do a lot of different business and stuff. So I looked up to Neil in that aspect, and just seeing like, man, he's multifaceted, multi-talented, like just a force, you know. It reminded me a lot of like, you know, Stan Lee, like the age that Stan was and the amount of energy that man had, it was incredible. Like, sometimes I would think of Stan like on a day where I feel like I'm kind of like dreary or slow, and then I think like, man, Stan's looks like he got more energy than I do, and he's like, you know what I mean? He's like 80 something at that time, or 90 something at that time, and he's like, you know what I mean? And his joggers.
I think that's just the generation, man. I'm like, those guys are just like go getters, man.
Yeah.
You know.
So wild that it's But yeah, those guys should be on the Mount Rushmore of comics. You know, respect to them.
Absolutely.
Legends. You know.
Well, we're going to give you what we're kind of looking forward to this week.
Yeah, let's hear it.
We have 3 comics, and Brant, we'll go with yours. So what are your 3 comics that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so Earth Prime's Stargirl. It's a Stargirl issue. It's a one CW show I kept up with. I fell behind on all the rest of them, but I really enjoyed that show, and it's tying into the show, so I'm going to check that one out. And then Savage Avengers. Nice. We've talked about David Pepos is writing it. He's known Cat for years, and he's a cool guy. I've talked to him once, I think, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with Avengers, and finally finding out what in the world they're this whole secret with Thor's secret origin is. Hopefully they'll reveal it in that book. And then Nightwing 92, they're getting back to the story with his sister and Blockbuster and all that. So it's been a long time coming for that particular arc. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So then mine, I have Thor issue 25. We got that continuation of the Banner War situation. So we're going into the second part of that. First one was like a big brawl that was totally insane. But you got a little bit of kind of like what happened in El Paso, Texas. You know, you found out that the Hulk actually killed at least 17 people, but he doesn't remember why. So, but that fight was crazy awesome in that first issue. And then my number 2 is World's Finest, issue 3. So you got the Batman, Superman, Supergirl. You got Tim Drake in there. It's like a mini, DC universe of almost like how DC kind of used to be. You know, that's what it kind of reminds me of, old school universe. And I love Dan Moore's artwork in that book. It's so well done. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Always love his work.
And then my number 1 most anticipated, and it was delayed last week, and now it's coming out this week, is Life Zero issue 4. That book is awesome. I mean, Keto's artwork in that is amazing, but it was like at first you thought it was this Walking Dead type of book, and then yes, it has Walking Dead elements, but then it can become so much more. Instead of them being in this farm town avoiding zombies that are in the big city, and they got to rescue the daughter, and their team is starting to kind of turn on each other, and it's just intense. It reminds you of like a horror movie where you're walking around the corner and then it's a jump scare that happens. It's a beautiful book. I love that series so much. I don't even know how many issues is it. Do you know if it's like an ongoing or a mini series, Ruben, by chance?
Isn't that one a miniseries?
I thought it was, but it doesn't have it. For me, it doesn't seem like it has a definitive ending on it.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I thought that one was a miniseries.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It doesn't say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I thought it was 6 issues, but I could be completely wrong off of that. But it's intense. It's a roller coaster ride. I mean, I love that book. It's so well written and it's so well drawn. And some of these indie comics are just really hitting it out of the park right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, I think they just sometimes a lot of the times the indie comics just don't really have as much of a restriction on certain things. You know what I mean? So they go a little more all out. I'm writing my own. I'm creating my own IP right now. So I actually have my own independent book I'm working on right now, and I could just go to the wall on that one right now. You know what I mean? There's really no restriction on that one. Stuff is a little more just heavier in terms of things that happen in it. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of times those indie books, there's some surprises in them for sure.
Absolutely. Are you gonna pitch that around? You self-publishing? How are you doing that?
Yes. So actually, if all goes well with it, I'll reach out to you guys and we'll like announce it on here or something. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
More than welcome to come back on the show for sure.
Script is finished as of 3 a.m. last night. Actually,
nice.
So I actually finished it. This is like a new. So my interior artist already has it, and he's already started to work on it. We had a little meeting today, so the process has begun. But yeah, he started to get to work on it already, and as it unravels, I'll let you guys know, and we'll go over that. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, I've been working on that for a while. Yeah, so
very cool.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, Ruben. Well, thank you for being on the show today. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks. I'm a fellow viewer listener, so I appreciate everything you guys do. I know it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? You guys do a fantastic job. We're all fellow comic brethren. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
All of us like-minded. I mean, you guys could talk about one thing, and I just kind of like join in, geek out. You know what I mean? Just on even level with you guys. You know what I mean? I think that's really cool because, I think that's what a lot of us take to join, you know, when we go to conventions and stuff like that. We enjoy it because we're in a room full of people that like the same stuff that we do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We're all,
Yeah.
we're all like-minded in that aspect, you
It's
know.
kind of
So
amazing how long you can talk to somebody about all these characters and all these
Mhm.
books, you know.
yeah.
Real quick, I had a garage sale recently, and I sold, you know, a lot of my books, and a lot of people that, you know, knew my channel came to come see me, and we must have talked 2 hours straight
Yeah.
about just whatever,
Yeah.
you know,
It
and
goes
it's
like
it's just
fast.
insane. It's
Yeah.
great. It's wonderful, you know, and that's what's so great about this hobby.
Yeah, it's funny. A few years ago, my wife, who was my girlfriend or my fiance then, we were on a like family trip when we went to a casino, and she happened to be wearing like a comic book T-shirt that day,
Uh-huh.
and we walked in and like this big like 6'4" security guard sees it, and he's like, "Oh, you're into comics?" And he starts asking us all kinds of questions like, "I just got into them. Where do I start with Avengers and all this stuff?" So
Yeah.
we had like this 20-minute conversation with the security guard just right before we even
Nice.
got in the place. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
All
Heck
right,
yeah.
Ruben. Well, thank you so much. You have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you soon. And we hope that you'll be on the
Absolutely.
show very soon again.
Hey, you got it. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. June 15th, best Archie comic ever. It'll be out. I highly recommend it. You're going to want to scoop it up. It's a one shot, so you can't go wrong, you know. So exciting.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate all of you.
All right. Thanks,
Good
Ruben.
night.
Talk to you later.
All right. So there's Ruben, everybody. Like he said, check out that comic when it comes out. So I'll check it out for sure. It looks cool, man. So I know we
Oh,
were
yeah.
asking Brant before he came back when you got that art. I'm not going to forget that question. What was your best Archie comic that you ever read?
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about that question. Man, that's too hard. I can't pick. I've read so many Archie comics in my life. I
Do
couldn't
you like
possibly
some of
pick one.
that off the wall different stuff that they've done? Like the horror ones, like Life After
Oh,
Archie and
yeah.
stuff like that?
Yeah. After, what was it? Afterlife? What is it
Yeah.
called? Afterlife with Archie? Or whatever the actual
Life
title was. I
After
can't
Archie,
remember.
whatever it was. Or the
Yeah.
werewolf one where Jughead was a werewolf.
It was definitely the zombie one. I didn't like the werewolf one as much. I definitely liked Afterlife. As far as the off the wall stuff goes, I remember. I'm not saying it's a great comic, but I do remember like reading the Punisher crossover, and I was like, Archie and Punisher, you couldn't get two different forces combining, and that was kind of fun. But we talked about the TMNT crossover earlier too. I when I was younger, I really got into the little Archies when they
Right.
showed them like when they were little kids, but
Yeah.
I mean they were doing it with all kinds of franchises back then. They did it with the Flintstones, and Scooby Doo, and Archies and everything. So I really got into that. But I honestly, when I just want to chill and read a fun Archie thing, I love the classic stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was like
good.
Ruben. I would pick up those digests all the
Yeah.
time and
Yep.
just read them over and over again. They're so worn. I have like a stack of them somewhere still, and they're so worn. They're like wrinkled and, and ripped and all that stuff.
Those are the best, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jesse here said, apparently the Robert E. Howard estate is letting Marvel keep Conan in Savage Avengers, even though they want to self-publish. So it looks like he's still going to be in that title at least.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good because I don't know what they would do at this point if he wasn't, or if they would like write him out
They would
and
kill
maybe, yeah, just kill him. Yeah.
Yeah, just end it. All right. So now that we got that portion of the show completed, now we're going to dive into the news. So there was a lot of news this past week, especially Spider-Man news. We had the She-Hulk trailer that dropped. So a lot of stuff here. Let's go ahead and get back into that.
Yeah, let's do it. So we'll start with the media news. We got a couple of pieces there. We already mentioned the She-Hulk trailer. We'll circle back to that in a second. But let's talk about these cancellations at CW. I don't think they're a huge surprise, some of these, but I mean, Naomi barely got started. So that's sad to see that go. Batwoman, I think, we kind of talked about that. We saw the writing on the wall with that one.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one that kind of caught me by surprise, and I can't remember which one it was. But
Was it Legends was the one that was canceled?
Yeah, Legends was canceled, which, I mean,
That's been
you
on a
know,
long time.
yeah, exactly. Like the reboot of Charmed, the reboot of Roswell, those are gone as well. Oh, the 4400, they tried to reboot that show. That's an old USA show.
Okay.
They tried to bring back. It made one season or like 13 episodes, so like half a season. It's gone. I think Stargirl is still on the bubble. We don't know yet. So yeah, it's crazy. They're killing shows left and right. I don't know.
They might be retooling their
Yeah,
network. You know what I'm saying? It kind of seems like what they're
right.
doing. They're purging all that stuff and getting rid of it and trying to do something else, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they announced that Warner merger not too long ago, and that's
Yeah.
part of that whole thing. So I think they are just kind of like you said, retooling, repackaging, and trying to figure things out going forward. But it's like an end of an era.
Yeah.
We had all these hero shows on that network specifically, and now
Sure.
they're just kind of gone. So
Oh, now, I mean, you're just going to see that on streaming services. I think they'll have a little bit more budget. They can do more
right,
stuff. They can,
like the Marvel stuff. Yeah,
right. They can stretch it out. They see the success on Disney Plus, so they're like, "Oh, well, we can do that on ours now." So
mm-hmm.
that only makes sense. I mean, honestly, really, when you look at Naomi, I just feel like it was too soon to have a show. I just feel like there's not enough material for her to have her own show. How do you even write a character to have her own show when, based off of a comic, when there's no real source material to go off of?
I mean, literally in the issue that came out last week that we'll talk about later, she references the last 2 weeks being crazy. So there's literally only 2 actual weeks of Naomi history.
Right.
So yeah, there's not anything to draw from. It was way too soon, and it can be evidenced probably by people like me who haven't even seen a single episode of that show. So
yeah, me either.
Yeah. So there you go. We're the reason it got canceled because we weren't watching it. Sorry. But yeah, no, it's a lot of those writings on the wall, and hopefully, they've still got the Superman show, which I still haven't seen an episode of that one yet either.
Me either. But I heard it's good, so that one looks like it'll probably stick around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's Superman, Superman, Batman, certain characters you can't really go that wrong with. So we'll keep our eye on what happens next with the CW. But going back to that She-Hulk trailer, we did watch it. It did come out today. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. It's fun. I think personally it keeps the spirit of She-Hulk pretty well. I think the CGI on She-Hulk herself is a little iffy. It's not as good as I would like it to be.
I also think like you gotta see it on the show. Like once the show is really going, it's kind of hard when you see clips and different outfits and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm hoping that this show is good. I mean, it seemed pretty good. I loved the way, she acted in it. And I do like the way she looks. She has the, basically the essence of She-Hulk. She looks the part, So I'm excited for it, man. I can't wait to see what this show really is about here.
Yeah, me too. And I love seeing Ruffalo's Hulk in it as well, and just kind of bringing her right into that whole universe. We got from Incredible Hulk, we got the Abomination making a reappearance as well. So it could be a lot of fun. I hope the CGI they tighten up a little bit before the actual show airs. But it's Lisa said she watches this YouTube channel that they kind of go through special effects and kind of break them down to their base and kind of theorize what they did here and there. And she thinks it looks like they were trying to mesh like traditional CGI with that thing that they're doing with Mark Hamill on the Star Wars show with his face. Kind of meshing those two things, and maybe it's a little jittery because of that.
It's a little wonky looking.
Yeah. So who knows? But we'll keep watching.
Yeah, I'm excited for the show. It's August 17th, I think it was. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So moving on to some comic news, we got some DC stuff, and then we're going to dive headlong into this Marvel stuff, which is mostly Spider-Man stuff. So let's start with Jason Todd becomes a Green Lantern for Dark Crisis. Interesting
Listen,
choice there. Yeah.
whatever you got to do, I guess, to get some excitement behind Dark Crisis. Well, we're gonna make now Jason Todd a Green Lantern. Does the man have great will? I mean, like, does he have the will not to kill anymore? Is that why he gets the Green Lantern ring, or does it not
Maybe.
matter anymore?
See, for me, he fits more as a Red Lantern.
Yes,
I mean,
great.
right?
He
That'd
even
be
got a red
perfect.
costume, like that would be perfect, you know?
Yeah, that would be perfect. But yeah, you got to keep him heroic, I suppose. He's definitely the Guy Gardner of the Bat family, though, so that would totally make sense for him to be a Red
Yeah.
Lantern. But yeah, maybe it is that. Maybe it's his will to change, or just his will to survive despite being literally killed by the Joker. Who knows? We'll see what happens with that. I don't know. Dark Crisis is weird so far. So, yeah,
We'll check it out, but I'll
yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Then we got a little teaser of this new Teen Justice comic, the Multiversity Teen Justice. It's I think it's kind of cool because they're doing a whole gender bend. So all these characters that we know, it's different versions of them from a different reality. Where now you have, I think it's Donald Troy instead of Donna Troy, and things like that. And they're also different sexuality preference and stuff.
From different Earths, and they're just gender.
Yeah,
right?
right. And like Jess, Kid Quick is the character that we saw in Future State as part of the Justice League. So yeah, it's pulling from some of that, and I think they were introduced in one of the specials DC put out. It was either last year or the year before, in just like a little short, and so now they're coming out with their comic in a couple of months, I think it is. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and is that all the DC news? Yeah, I think that's all the DC news. All right, so moving on to the Marvel stuff, we got the first Transmutant joins Marvel and interacts with the X-Men. I think Emma Frost comes into the story. The character's name is Escapade and has a sidekick. Yeah, so that's cool. That's definitely continue breaking ground.
Weird powers, like she can swap items and transport with another character. So like, if you were like over there on the other side of the room, like I can swap with you, you know?
Right.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it was weird because it's like only for a limited amount of time too. So it's almost like Our Man, but it's like powers or utilities, and they carry a utility belt and has all these items in it too, and it has to be within 7 feet of somebody. So it's like all these different rules to this power. It's so weird. So it's gonna be interesting.
But I do appreciate, like, so like I know we're getting a lot of representation in comics, right? And I know like DC has been kind of just like, we have all these characters that we've had for years, and they're all of a sudden they're bi, or you know, they're this or they're that, and it's like, okay, I like your representation, but again, I want good stories. Don't just force it upon us. I like how in this instance, Marvel is just creating a different character, or we're getting introduced to a new character, and we're not changing the characters that we always had, or we're keeping the characters that we already knew who were, you know, bi or whatnot in the universe, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And this is shaping up to be an interesting character. Visually, I don't love the costume. It kind of gives me Jubilee vibes, like inverted Jubilee. So we'll see how that evolves over time, if this character, you know, has legs and continues on past this this one shot. So
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from that. We did miss one DC story, so I'll circle back to that. Flash searches for Barry Allen. That's a new arc coming up in the Flash series, which could lead to what comes after Dark Crisis, or where these characters are, because apparently Barry is still alive somewhere, or he wouldn't be looking for him. So,
of course, like Flash
of course,
be the center around a DC event, right, and could be the answer to everything. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So I think all the rest of the Marvel stuff is Spider-Man related in some way, shape, or form. So we'll get into all this Spider-Man stuff. We'll save the chasm thing for the end, I suppose. So this one's from last week. Mary
I'll answer
Jane.
this question real quick.
Oh yeah,
Before
yeah.
we get
Go for
into
it. Go for it.
Earlier, I was asking, what are your thoughts on the Batman coming out as possibly bi in Chip Zdarsky's Batman the Knight storyline? I just know that I know he had a possible relationship developing in that book that Chip Zdarsky's currently writing right now when he was younger, but it doesn't mean that he is bisexual right now. Maybe he was curious, maybe he had, feelings for this boy that he was with in this book, but obviously we haven't seen anything from that point on, right? We've never seen anything. So maybe he was just interested and it just, never transpired. Nothing happened out of that there. So yeah,
Okay.
nothing
I
actually
haven't read
happened
that.
in that book. It looked like that they were possibly going to kiss him and this boy, but they actually never did. And then nothing happened after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be something to follow. So
Right.
we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. So going back to that, Mary Jane is a mutant. This was from the Free Comic Book Day book. The epilogue in that where we find out that Moira is basically taking control of Mary Jane, and she's going to show up at the Hellfire Gala and cause all kinds of problems. So that's interesting.
So the big speculation on this is that I never finished reading that Moira book that she became like evil and now she's like a Terminator. Like, what the hell happened? Dude, what did I miss? You know?
So in the future, like the whole world got taken over by the Phalanx. Do you remember the Phalanx from old classic X-Men stuff? The technovirus and those. So everybody gets taken over by that, and that Wolverine that came back in time to kill Moira or whatever was infected with all of that. So now Moira is kind of that. I think she has part of Adam Warlock's arm or something, and that. Yeah, so it turned her into this. They cut it off, right? Mystique cut it off.
No, remember when she was in a hotel room and she cut it off?
Oh yeah, you're right. She cut that off. I don't remember then. She was in some kind of lab with some kind of scientist and having him do something. I don't remember. Somehow she got another arm. I'm kind of foggy on the details. Yeah, she slowly kind of
She wound up skinning Banshee, and she wound up using Banshee's skin to invade Krakoa or something like that.
Yeah,
is that what it was.
Yeah, she got really twisted and messed up. That's basically what happened.
Now I guess there's a thought that she's going to do the same thing with Mary Jane. Yeah,
man, that's
some dark shit if that happens, right?
Yeah, definitely. And oh man, this is going to be a much more interesting Hellfire Gala, I think, this time around. You got, from what I read, like Spider-Man's masquerading as Moon Knight, or has an outfit of Moon Knights that he's getting from that book. I don't know what's going on. Things are going to hit the fan in Hellfire Gala this time around. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be much more eventful than the last one.
It's not just going to be a fashion show and a fake murder mystery.
Yeah, and it's only one issue, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
too.
Right. Oh man! And speaking of loves of Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy is making a return apparently.
I don't think it's actually an issue where she's returning. I think it might be some kind of flashback or story or something that he's reliving. I don't think she's actually coming back. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know. It's like this just came randomly out of nowhere. It's part of Judgment Day, which makes it iffy too. And what does Gwen Stacy have to do with Judgment Day? She's not a mutant or anything. So does
Peter feel bad that he's feeling bad about himself of all the lives that he let go, and Gwen Stacy's on that cover, and she probably doesn't have to have nothing to do with the story whatsoever. It could be just like a flashback page or a panel or something like that.
Yeah. I saw a comment where somebody like screenshotted that Ramita cover of her and said, my reaction to Gwen Stacy coming back is Gwen Stacy's expression on this cover. And it was just like,
yeah, she is.
Yeah.
It's so bad. He's like on the floor.
Yeah.
It's like, God dang, please stop giving me John Romita Jr. covers, please.
But I tend to agree with you. I think it's clickbait basically.
Yeah, I
no
do
no
too.
Gwen Stacy. That's one of the holy grails. You can't bring actual Gwen Stacy back. It throws everything off. It messes everything up.
So. Every time she's come back, she's been a clone. That's the only thing.
Exactly. Or she's gonna be some it's gonna be some shape shifting mutant.
So, yeah, it's Mystique.
Yeah, it's Mystique. Yeah, there you go.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of classic Spider-Man moments, we're celebrating Amazing Fantasy with Amazing Fantasy number 1000 for the anniversary.
Yeah, so I mean, cool. It's cool. I mean, you're celebrating 60 years,
right?
Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and you're just going to get an anthology book just like Marvel Comics 1000. That's exactly what you're going to get here. You get all these creators writing all these different stories. I'll buy it just because it's Spider-Man. That's all I have to say about that. Let's just hope some of the stories are actually good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's 900, isn't it? It's not 1,000, whatever it is. I knew it was some kind of milestone. I couldn't remember which one.
It's 1,000.
Is it 1,000? Okay.
Yeah, just to say it is. I mean, there's no reason why.
Right, because that book did not continue. So, yeah, it's like Deadpool 9,000 or whatever that was. Yeah, it's like, or 900, whatever they did with Deadpool. They like started a really high number when he hadn't had that many issues. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 1000. No, Amazing Spider-Man is about to hit 900. That's where we're at with that. We got to wait another 100 issues, which will be out next year, as fast as they put Spider-Man out. But yeah, no, it's always cool. But it is going to be an anthology. Hopefully, it'll be a good one. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. All that good stuff. Dan Slott is returning to Spider-Man.
So he's not writing the Spider-Man. He's just doing like Edge of Spider-Verse, like the conclusion to it.
But it's the end of Spider-Verse. So what does that mean? That it's like they can't help themselves but end stuff. So it's like we can't let the Ultimate Universe continue. Now we can't let the entire Spider-Verse continue. Let's just kill it all.
Maybe no more Spider-Punk. Realized like, shit, do we really have too many Spider-Man characters? Maybe we need to kill them off. So who I want to know who survives this, if anybody survives
it. Do we know what the cells were on Spider-Punk?
Oh my God, I can't see it being that great, but
right.
I truly think that like you can't kill off Gwen Stacy, Ghost Spider.
No, not at all. Right? You're gonna kill this. You're going to kill the Spider-Verse, and somehow, just like the Ultimate Universe, all these characters are going to end up in the 616, and then you're just going to have Spider people running all over the place.
Oh, my God. You're truly going to just make Spider Island, and it's going to be where all the Spider people live.
It's Krakoa for Spider people.
Yeah. Spider Krakoa.
Oh, man. It's going to be called The Web.
Yeah, it's going to be quick. Let's go to the Web. That's our headquarters where we all meet and hang out.
Oh, my God.
Drink beers with each other.
Oh, it's going to be like all rooftops, dude.
Oh, my God.
All skyscrapers.
That would be insane.
Oh,
then
so
what do you X-Men with Krakoa, Spider-Man with their own island. It would be a mess.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can read that.
Avengers got to get their own place now. They got to just get their own island. Everybody's got to have their own island now.
Avengers would probably be standing there going, really?
Yeah. We don't even have our mansion anymore. You guys got
Spider-Man Tower. That's what it would be.
Yeah. Oh, man. So what do you all in the comments think about Dan Slott coming back to any version of Spider-Man? Are you excited? Are you terrified?
Yeah.
What's going through your mind right now?
Oh, God.
Let us know. And while you're thinking about that, we've also got a new look for Venom's Sleeper Agent, which I have not been reading this book, so I have no idea anything about Sleeper Agent, but I'm sure you have, right, Mike?
Well, I mean, there's no such thing as Sleeper Agent yet.
Oh, it's brand new. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
so that character technically is new. So there's the Sleeper symbiote. Remember the one that's like yellow?
Normie.
Yeah, yeah. He's like it's like the cat. So it doesn't really have a host.
Right.
So we
Okay.
don't know who the host actually is.
Okay,
right?
so this new look is for whoever this host is. Gotcha.
Yeah. At first I thought it was Ant-Man because the mask like looks similar, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you click on the cover, you'll see the full cover, and it's like this dude's got like vials going into his arms, and he's wearing like this mask and everything. It's kind of wild, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of Bane-esque.
Yeah. You have the
you
image
know,
to show?
Yeah, I'm about to bring it up here. I just noticed like the lightning bolts on his head are almost like Electro.
Yeah. I mean, look at it. It looks like, his hands, it almost looks like repulsor rays. But yeah, he's got
That's
all
true
these
too.
vials going into his body and whatnot. So I'm like, oh, that's quite interesting. So,
Yeah.
so the Sleeper symbiote attaches to this character.
Okay.
Why, I don't know. Is it good? Is it evil? I still don't know. But it looks like he's bad.
It does, yeah. Okay, Tevia thinks it's Scorpion. That's a possibility.
Again, though? Wasn't he like that virus guy when symbiotes were in the Venom book?
He just can't get over not having that symbiote anymore.
Yeah, I guess
keep coming back. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, it's taking notes from different things. Like you mentioned, the repulsor rays. That's an Iron Man thing, but you got Electro vibes, Wolverine vibes here. I mean, they're pulling from a lot of sources here. They're keeping us guessing, is what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we got would make sense. He did have the symbiote.
Yeah,
That's true. So
any other guesses out there? Yeah, has anybody worn any kind of vials or taken any kind of chemicals like that we know of?
Nope. I mean, I don't know.
So when is that? Yeah, when is that supposed to? Like, when is that arc supposed to start?
I forgot. I don't know if it was August or July. I don't remember.
August. It's issue 11. Starts with issue 11. So keep our eyes on that as well. And then that brings us to our topic of the week, which is Chasm teaming up with the Goblin Queen, the unlikely alliance of the clones.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is an unlikely alliance. You would never expect in a million years that these two would actually team up to go defeat Spider-Man. So if you read the free comic book day issue, right? You wound up seeing Spider-Man. It's so stupid too. Spider-Man was going after a demonic mailbox, right? And supposedly Madelyne Pryor was the one that was controlling this mailbox with one of her demons. And
that's not random.
And Spider-Man's kind of just like was fighting it. And then he winds up getting blamed for destroying federal property. And he's like, but this thing was possessed by some kind of goblin. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then here you got Chasm, and then you got Madelyne Pryor working together going, oh, yeah, that was pretty cool. And it kind of is an interesting concept because they are both clones. They were both created by other people. Like she was created by Sinister, right? And he was created by
Jackal.
Jackal. And so, and they both, I guess they just want to defeat Spider-Man. Like Chasm, I get, but why Madelyne Pryor so much?
Yeah, I don't get the connection with her, with the Spider-Man. So I understand like the connection with Ben, right? Like you said,
right.
And both of them having, the memories or thinking they're their counterparts, and then realizing that their life is not real, and all that stuff that would totally mess someone up. I get that, but yeah, I don't understand why she would care about Spider-Man. So
right. I mean, out of these two clones, Ben Reilly and Madelyne Pryor, who do you think has the better story? I think it's Madelyne Pryor. Technically, I think it's pretty deep for me.
Yeah, her story is really deep, and there's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot more people involved in that whole thing with, her relationship with Havoc and with Cyclops, and
yeah.
yeah, and the whole thing with Jean Grey and everything else she's been through with Sinister and being hunted down and all that stuff. Where Ben, it was just like, I think I'm Spider-Man. Oh, I'm not Spider-Man. Oh, I am Spider-Man. Oh, I'm not Spider-Man.
And who am I? What's my identity?
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over again. Yeah,
and now I'm Chasm, and that's who I am. Now I don't even know who I am at all. Period. I'm just a freak.
Yeah, not saying it hasn't been traumatic for Ben. Obviously, it has, and that whole thing where he was killed over and over again by the Jackal, that would take a toll on anyone, I'm sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Madelyne's story is a little bit more deeply rooted, I guess.
I mean, think about it. She married Cyclops.
Yeah.
They had a kid.
Mm-hmm.
The kid is Cable.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a lot of baggage there.
Yeah, for sure. And then just kind of being ousted, and you're not the real person, and then all the other stuff that happened after that. Yeah,
so I can understand why she was pissed off. About all that stuff.
I just don't understand why she's mad at Peter. We'll see.
I guess we'll find out. Yeah. I mean, hey, again, we're always looking for different stories, something new and exciting.
That's true.
And so if these two are teaming up for a purpose, then hey, why not? I mean, they share a similar problem, so why not team up and defeat the people that are that are against them? So maybe they're teaming up to take on Peter now, and then maybe they'll team up to take on like Cyclops later.
I want to see now. This is the wrestling fan of me coming out. I want to see now Chasm and Goblin Queen take on Peter Parker or Spider-Man and the Queen Goblin. So mixed tag match. Here we go. Let's get it on.
That would be awesome.
Oh man. So that is our main topic, and that is all our news. So it's time to move into some big books.
All right, let's go. We're yawning here.
Let's go an hour and a half into the show.
Yeah, we'll get through these kind of quickly so we don't stay up too late. And plus, I gotta get to bed too. All right, so let's talk about Hulk versus Thor: Banner of War Alpha 1. What'd you think about this?
Honestly, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as you did from your comments earlier. So I'm hoping that the rest of the story is better. Obviously, this was set up. You had to tell the story. The framing of it was a little weird to me. It's like, isn't the Watcher like being strapped to a chair and reliving all this stuff?
That's what I thought. I thought they kind of forgave him in the last issue of the Reckoning War. So I don't know. I was thinking the same thing, but him chilling out and eating popcorn, I'm like, hey man, hey, whatever.
Yeah, so it's like if you're coming in this cold and you haven't read Thor or Hulk, that's cool. They gave you all the you need to know to set up this, but it was like, okay, let's fight. It was like a video game. That's what this issue was. It's like throw them in an arena, let them fight. And they're both talking to people you can't see. You don't know what's going on. So it was fun. It just wasn't what I was expecting, and I thought it would have a little bit more meat to it. Is all.
I think it might as time goes along.
Yeah.
This wasn't in my top 5 though. So even though I had fun with it, it wasn't a top 5 book for me.
Gotcha.
So I read it. I liked it. The thing I appreciated the most, like you already said, was getting readers caught up of what's going on with these characters, and that's good. That's really good there. All right, next, the continuation to the first story arc of Crossover. So this was an interesting book on like Donny Cates not being the one responsible for all this.
Yeah, so many levels. Like that stuff I believe was real, like the stuff about his character that he talked about, and it's just like, man, that's like
himself out there,
right? That goes beyond meta. That's just like autobiographical or biographical or whatever.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was deep stuff, man, and you felt it on that page. But yeah, it was an interesting twist, and the way he just kind of led up to it, and you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
and the way it ends, like you got to kill Jeff Shaw, the artist, and it's like, okay,
like,
here we go.
oh, that's how it ends. I mean, and
Yeah.
I felt bad for Donnie Cates just sitting there bleeding out. He got smacked in the head by Negan. I was like, I almost had a Glenn moment there, like when I was
Right.
reading The Walking Dead. You know, I was like, damn, that's
Yeah.
rough right there. But it was a very emotional book. It, like you said, is like an autobiography. It was like, hey, documentary. This is all about Donnie Cates here. And I was just like, man, that's just intense. So great book, great ending to the first story arc. We'll see what happens, you know, going forward with it.
Oh man. Yeah, if you guys are not reading crossover, if you dipped off in the middle when it got a little slow, these last few issues have been killer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely. All right, here's a book that I promised that I would read, and let me tell you, it was Jurassic League issue 1. And I want to tell you, this book was good.
Was it good? Really?
It
Okay.
was good. This is a perfect book for you to read with your kids or anybody. This was an all ages book. The artwork was really good in this book. And you got introduced to this version of the Justice League. Like you got Superman as like a Supersaurus. You got Wonder Woman as a Triceratops. Batman, he was a dinosaur. He was fighting the Joker as a lizard Joker or whatever it was. And the art was phenomenal in this book. I had a really good time reading it. And this is basically a setup issue of you getting used to this Justice League, of this version of it. And, you know, it's not like they just like, let's draw some real scribble scrabble, blah, 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 blah. Good art in this book. This was definitely a surprise pick for me. And I'm definitely going to pick up the second issue. And this reminds me of cartoons, action figures, movies. This reminded me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's exactly what this reminded me of. Yeah.
Wow.
Really good stuff.
That's cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Let me see here. Feels like my comments aren't coming through here all the way. All right. Next, we have our number 5. So let's do this. Let's talk about the big books first, and then let's just run down what our top 5 was. So we'll just do that real quick. So let's go on and talk about Captain America: Symbol of Truth, issue 1. What'd you think about this book?
I thought it was better than I thought it would be. It wasn't great, but I think the pacing of it worked really well. The way that they interspersed like the action with the train heist and then flashback to Sam and Misty talking, and I really loved those moments more than the actual action. But you know, I thought it was a little easy that you know the connection that Red Wing had to somebody on the train. I thought that was a little easy, and maybe it's you know on purpose. Maybe there's a reason that they were targeted or whatever.
I agree with you though on that. Like it was just like, oh, out of all the people in the world that's on this train, hey, it's my cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
On that train, I'm like, dude, come on. I love the action in this book. I love the artwork in this book. I did not like that part of the book that we just talked about. And I also didn't like the whole Crossbones reveal at the end. I was just like, Crossbones. I'm like,
that was a little lackluster. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that's your big cliffhanger, you know, a character that we've seen 1,000 times. However, though, I liked it enough to where I'm still going to keep reading it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I thought the same thing. No, at that end, I was like, Crossbones, really? We couldn't get somebody different or a little bigger or something.
Right.
But yeah, it's not without its flaws, but it's definitely better than the last Sam Wilson Captain America book I read personally. So you know, I'm on board at least for now. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. And next, we're going to talk about that. Well, you're going to talk about Batgirls issue 6.
Yeah, and I'll keep it brief. This, I mean, you know how I feel about this book. It's like I love the characters, don't love the story. This was kind of the conclusion of that. It was the big boss fight, basically. So Stephanie almost dies. They think she's dead at the end, but then she turns out not to be. So they're all okay, and they're going to move forward. And now, what's her name? The one oh, what is her name? The Seer that was in that other story where she took over for Oracle. Yeah, she found them because they like went off completely off the grid for this book, and that's, you know, they were hiding from Seer. So Seer finally found them, but came asking for their help, and that was the cliffhanger in the book. So that was interesting, and that got me hooked to keep on. I'm like, okay, what does Seer need their help for? So that was cool, at least. So it was a fun conclusion, I suppose.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. And then next we have Noctera issue 10. So what's going on here, man? So we get to see like kind of how like Blacktop Bill was created, and then he runs into his, like, I guess they were his peers and now they're his enemies. And the whole place has gone dark, so it looks like we're getting these big creatures going after him. And this is the penultimate issue because it says to be concluded at the end of it.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, they finally got the location to Eos where everything can supposedly change, but they're all trapped in this dome now.
Yep.
And it's dark, and you got these big giant mega creatures coming out of the water at them. I mean, it's going to be an all-out wall-to-wall action issue, I think, next issue. I don't see how it couldn't be. So, like, but where do you go from there?
This up in one issue? I mean,
they would have to fight off both the Nocturnes that are in there with them and the Megas, and leave and get to Eos and save the world in all one issue. So, unless it's concluding the arc, and then we're going on to another arc later, that's the only way I could see how they could conclude this. So they just conclude this part of it, and then we're on to Eos for the next arc. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's very possible. Or even a second volume.
Yeah, that's true.
You could do that too.
Go to Kickstarter for that second volume.
Yeah. There's a question on here. Did Brant read 1 Billion Genies issue 1? I loved it because your anticipated is peaked at the end.
Yeah, I actually did read it. Did you read this, Mike?
Yes, and we'll talk about it. Yeah.
All right. So we'll talk about that one. Right. Stay tuned.
Yep, stay tuned. All right. So now we're going to move on to X-Men issue 11.
There's another X-Men issue. That's all you can really say about it. The art was pretty.
Yeah, the art was pretty. It's on Game World. Laura gets possessed by that mushroom dude, you know, that fungus guy. Yeah. And this Dr. Stasis dude winds up being a Mr. Sinister character. Like,
I did not see that coming.
Like, God damn, it's a clone. It's a clone of Mr. Sinister. And all we get is clones of other characters, and we get resurrections of the same characters that die 1,000 times. This book, X-Men, is just not in a good place right now.
I agree with you. I was hoping this would just be a fun, just kind of side thing where, you know, as X-Lady's out going to the Game World or whatever. But yeah, then all that stuff. The one cool moment in this issue for me was when Sync was using the Wolverine claws, and he was like, I've been Wolverine longer than anybody alive, because he was trapped in that thing, in that maze or whatever, with Laura for all those years. So I thought that was a cool one-liner, but that was like my main takeaway from this issue was a cool one-liner.
No, it's so bad, man.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed with this. I really am hoping that this Judgment Day thing, I hope they freaking destroy these X-Men, do something that is just universally changing the X-Men in general.
I think that had to be the end game from day one. You have to you bring this thing into existence where they can come back to life, and then you take it away.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, bring it back to status quo for the next person to pick it up and do something different. That's kind of what Yeah.
I mean, you can only do this for so long, and you can only have these bad mutants or formerly bad mutants,
Yeah.
all mutants working together, right? I mean, these stories are not the same without the adversaries. It's just
Yeah.
there's nothing there. They're not fighting against anybody. It's just it's boring. It's boring as hell.
Yeah. It's like the the I mean, this is the kind of like ending you get like at the end of an epic movie when you're sailing off into the sunset and there's no more story after that, right? That's what Krakoa is.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you got to have more story, so you got to end Krakoa. And as cool as a concept as it was, it's run its course, and it's time to do something different. Yeah, so.
Absolutely, I agree. Oh, this book was so bad. Transformers: The Last Spot Standing. I sat there and my thought process was, oh, this is going to be like The Last Ronin, but of Transformers. That's basically
Yeah.
what I thought of this.
Uh-huh.
This was so bad. I
What
honestly
the heck
don't know
was this?
I don't know even who would buy this book besides you and me. I think we're the only two people that bought this book. Do you know anybody else who bought this?
No, because I thought the same thing as you. I'm like, oh, they're about to lose all these books, so this is going to be their panel. This is going to be their ultimate story for Transformers, and it's like, I mean, it's set in the future, but it's the Wild West again, and they're elves. I don't know why they're elves.
They're elves, and they talk
where
like
all the people go.
And then they talk with like a cowboy. Slang.
Right. They're like a 4 instead of B4. And, it's, oh my goodness. But they're driving like cars and this wagon. And then all of a sudden, this random Transformer just shows up and he's like all happy to find one of his own. And we find out that this wagon is freaking Rodimus Prime.
It is.
One of the most hated Transformers of all time, right?
And then he's just like destroys this other guy, and I'm just like, what was this? Like, who? I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to rag on. I don't want to rag on a person who wrote this book, but this,
right.
I don't like. My last thought process here was thinking that I was going to get a Western book with elves and Rodimus Prime in it. Right? I never thought I was going to get that ever. And
can you imagine if that was the pitch? Yeah, so it's the Wild West full of elves, and Rodimus Prime is the last Transformer standing. But he's a wagon.
I want to know, like, when the pitch happened, right? They sat there and they're like, listen, I don't think we can make the meeting tomorrow. We're just really hungover. And the guy's like, listen, I got this. I got it. I got to be there. It's the only day I can get it. And it's like, okay. And they're just like, we'll go with it. Yeah, I mean, I do not see this. I can't, I'm like,
yeah, I'm just blown away by what this ended up being. I don't even know what to think about this anymore. We got a super chat.
All right, yeah, super chat here from Supreme Omega on X-Men Status Quo.
Thank you.
Do we have to go back to the mansion again? That would feel tired and regressive. Maybe someone could do something new out of Krakoa. So I totally agree. We don't have to go back to a mansion. And we could even have a different place where these mutants live. But at the bare minimum, get rid of the resurrection protocols.
Yeah.
And have all these mutants disassemble. Having every single mutant together in one place, disbeliefs, like, it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't work. All the work that Claremont has put into all these characters, it doesn't do this. It doesn't do any justice here for any of these guys.
So I love the altruistic message in all the mutants uniting and finding a commonality and having this paradise
from its entirety.
Yeah, but the problem with it is the X-Men only fight other mutants typically. when you take away their villains and the villain hero dynamic in the books, then they have to fight other heroes, which is why we keep going back to Avengers over and over again. They've never, so like occasionally you'll bring in like the Shi'ar or, Gladiator and the Kree, or you'll bring in like the Phalanx. So you'll have random things, but those are few and far between. Yeah. Usually it's mutants against mutants. And when you take that completely away, you have what we've had on Krakoa, which is political, posturing is basically what it's boiled down to. And while that can be interesting and can be, fun to read or watch or whatever, after a while it gets old and you got to do something different with that.
Sure.
And especially when you're talking about superhero comic books. And so I think we're at that point where we need them to have either have like a real threat that, all of them can combine and war against, or they need to split up and start fighting each other again. Yeah. You got to do something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you said it right. The goal was to get the mutants to come to a common ground and work together. That was always the goal of the X-Men. So when that happens, sunset goes down, and that's it. The story's over. Now, now that this has happened, how does the story continue? Right?
Yeah.
And so
I think it would be very interesting to see Xavier's dream realized, then kind of come to that realization that it's not really all that great, and when it falls apart, how that breaks him down and how it kind of
divides them all up again.
Yeah, divides them all up and kind of reverberates through all of mutantdom. And what does that do to everybody? Do people change sides all of a sudden? Do they have new direction, or they feel differently about things? Are you going to see people, that were not X-Men become X-Men, and people that were X-Men, go off and do something completely different because they don't believe in the message anymore? I think you could do a lot from this, and you need this to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. It's just if they actually take that ball and run with it or not.
And you know what the X-Men lack right now because of all this? There's no character growth at all.
Yeah.
The characters have stopped growing. They're just stagnant right now, and there's nothing to latch on, It's like what you've known from these characters in the past. So and it's just stagnant. That's really what it comes down to,
Yeah.
So, all right, that's our X-Men stuff. And there's our Transformer stuff. God, I'm not buying that second issue. My God. All right, so now we're going to talk about it. 8 Billion Genies issue 1. This book was freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
I am so happy I read this book and decided to pick it up. At first, I did not want to read it because based off of the cover, it looked like some little kid's book. But I was just like, you know what? The concept seems pretty interesting. If you had one wish, what would you wish? And of course, everyone gets a little genie. Everyone gets a wish. And some people don't even think about that wish. And you can see in this book what they wish for. And it's absolutely insane. And they don't see what the consequence is, with their wishes. But what I liked about this was the character work in this book as well. It's like, it starts off as a joke. You get like, these people walk into a bar and then all of a sudden genies appear. What happens? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It almost starts like that, but you get the wise man in there that right away he gets his wish. He puts thought into it and he sits there and he says, whatever happens in the outside world can't affect this bar. So these guys are all stuck in this bar, but they're protected. So what happens now? Do they get to see the earth die and get destroyed? And how do they live going forward? And what are their wishes going to be? And what's the world's wishes going to be? I love this book. I thought this book was great, and I loved seeing every single page.
I really liked like when they would do the insert pages where it'd be like, okay, 8 billion people, 8 billion genies, and then they shift to 8 billion genies, 799,999,000. There was like one person gone. It's like, okay, so somebody just wished somebody dead just immediately.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And did you notice that
and
the world was square?
I did not notice that. I didn't
Yeah,
catch that. Oh,
so
wow.
in the first one, it was like obviously you got to see all the genies. The second page, it was that 799 blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But the world was square.
Okay. So I
Someone
wish
wished
for
for the
flat
world that
Earth.
was
Yeah.
square.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah, and you got to see both thoughtful people and people acting on their base instincts in this.
Mhm.
So like the teenager is like, I wish you'd both burn in hell, and then they're just like sitting there that their parents are gone. And the girl who's like one of the main characters in the first of the story, like the guy brings her out, he's like pouring his heart out to her, want to be with you, and her genie appears and she's just like, make Brian love me. It's
Yeah,
like,
and it was the
man,
other
that
guy,
was
and he's like,
cold.
"What?"
That was cold.
Oh my god, it was so
Yeah.
crazy. And her wish didn't even come true. It was wasted because she wished outside of the bar.
Right. I also thought it was interesting from a coloring perspective. You saw the genies like when they were like, I don't know, frustrated, their emotions were changing, their bodies were changing colors.
You know what? I
And
didn't even notice that. That's interesting.
yeah, so like somebody was like, I forget who it was, but one character was like, going over what they want to wish for, and and the genie was just like exasperated, and their body was like three toned. It was like changing different colors. So I wonder if that leads to something further in the story. Like there's something more to these genies than just
Mhm.
like these little wish things. And I also wonder why nobody just wished for more wishes.
There might
No,
be,
yeah.
or you wish for uh to steal everyone else's wishes.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
I mean, but
Yeah.
maybe that's against the rules. Maybe you can't do that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
They didn't define any rules though. They were just like everybody gets a wish. And
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my first thing would be like, I want like a million more wishes.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So yeah, it's a very interesting book, and it definitely has me intrigued. And especially when at the end it's like, see what happens in the first 8 days. It's like, oh, if this all happened in the first 8 minutes,
Oh
I,
my
I can't wait
god.
to see what happens in 8 days. Is there anything
Floating
left?
castles, people that are giants, people who got
Yeah.
Bigfoot loaded with money in it. Like it's insane. Loved it.
Yeah, it's limitless what they can do with this book.
Oh yeah, so good.
The one thing I didn't like was at the very end, it kind of took me out of the story. I wish they had left this like for the letters page or something like that, where it was like, what would you do if you got a wish? And what would you do? And it was like, okay.
Oh yeah,
I didn't like that, but that's,
right.
that's a nitpick.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so there's our 8 billion genie. So I'm gonna just briefly touch on Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood issue 1. Uh, you know, little 3-story comic book about Moon Knight. One was introduced a new Moon Knight well into the future, the last priestess of Khonshu. So you got introduced to that character and a new character that he works with. So I think people were kind of specking on that book a little bit. And then you got a story with Moon Knight and Spider-Man, which I thought was a lot of fun. And then there was a third story in there, which was a story where you could read it from the beginning to the end or the end to the beginning. So
And
it
it
was one
worked
of
both
those.
ways. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really neat. So overall, it was a fun issue to read.
Nice.
All right. So now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about Grimm issue 1. Oh, you didn't read this?
I did not read this.
You didn't even. Wow, this is a good book.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You should. So this book is about a book of a lady or woman or girl. Her name is Jessica Harrow, who doesn't actually know how she dies, and she is not death herself, but she is a Grim Reaper. Works for death, and her
Okay.
job is when someone dies, she actually takes them to the afterlife. It's her job to bring them to the afterlife, right? And so it was pretty cool seeing the guy not realizing that he was dead and whatnot. And he's like, I can't be dead. How does this happen? And he's asking all these questions. And you get to see her, the journey and everything. And he asks her a question. She's like, how did you die? And she's like, I don't remember. I don't remember anything. So when she drops him off, he actually takes her scythe from her, and then he uses that to get back to the main world, and she needs to retrieve that scythe or she's going to get in trouble. So she goes back with a couple of other Grim Reapers, and people can't see. They're not supposed to see you in the real world, right? Well, all of a sudden, people can see her now, and she's not sure how, right? And so it made for a quite interesting story. This was a good book. This is definitely very intriguing. Wasn't very scary, but it was a supernatural, like a little darker, but it wasn't very gory or anything. I would recommend this. This is an intriguing book. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds more like something I would enjoy. I was worried that it was going to be more like the stuff that you and Kat tend to like that I don't.
Yeah, so, it wasn't really that bad. I mean, it was different. It was very different.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Maybe I'll check it out next time.
We had a comment here from Bear F. It says, I like Hickman, but the first story art was so bad I couldn't understand the story. Even the others were fine, I guess, too. You know, Hickman started off great. And then once he petered off of it, that's just kind of when it slowly went down, you know?
Yeah.
Where the hell is Apocalypse been in that whole other world too, right? You haven't even seen Ten of Swords or whatever it is. Like,
yeah,
man. They probably forgot about him. They're like, what do we do with Apocalypse now? All
Apocalypse now.
You like that?
That was nice.
Now we get speaking of Naomi, we got Naomi season 2, issue 3. This is starting to go down a little bit for me. It's I like it, but it's very, I feel like it's getting repetitive. Right? It's like every issue now seems to be the character of the week that we're teaming up with. Last one was Hawkgirl. This time it was Cyborg. And I like her having her relationship with her father and her parents not ready to let her go. Like, I understand that. I think that's very cool. And then her trying to make amends with her friends. But now it goes back to, again, that her friend, what is it, D? Winds up coming back at the end of the issue, and I'm like, just when we got this resolved, here comes D. You know, he's back in. Now we got to start all over again. You know, being the hero. So I was like, if it ended at this issue, I would have been absolutely fine with it. And now it's going to drag on.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, I totally get your point. I'm still enjoying it, and I don't know. There's just something about this particular book. It's like when I see Naomi in anything else, it's less interesting. But in this book, she's just really good, and I enjoy her character. I enjoy her character arc, and I like that she was like trying to acclimate to her limitations in this issue. So like she gets hurt and realizes that she can heal, but it hurts like crazy when she does heal. And, her parents coming to terms with, her growing up and that whole scene where her dad said, you don't have to be a superhero. And she's just like, wants to help people and got mad at them for saying that and stuff like that. And then they got proud of her. And I just think the character work in this book is pretty strong. And maybe I'm used to Bendis being a little bit decompressed. So it's I'm used to his books dragging out a little bit. And I at least think what's going on in her world is interesting enough to keep me invested too. So,
right.
Yeah.
Before I continue,
yeah,
Kat is okay. I know you came on late and Jenny's Comic Life.
Yeah.
She is on vacation, so that's why she's not here tonight.
Yeah.
She'll be back next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like this book. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel I know how Bendis is, and I know how he decompresses his story, and it takes a long time. And this is a perfect ending to an arc. This was it right here. And now you just extended the story by bringing D back into this world. And now we got to find out what happened, D? Where did you go? Why are you
Yeah.
so beat up? So now let's go out to the universe and go see what kicked your ass, because that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen,
Yeah.
So
Kind of convenient that he fell on her school the first day she went back to school too.
yeah.
But
And
yeah.
I feel like this might now go away from the grounded part of the book, which we
Mm.
enjoy the most.
I could see that happening, and if it does, then we'll see where my interest lies. I think if this was an ongoing, I would be a little bit more concerned about it though, because you're breaking it up into seasons and stuff. I'm hoping that it's a little bit more contained. So we'll see how the rest of it goes though. So.
Right. All right. And that is all of the big books. So now that we talked about all those books, now I want to know what your top 5 is, Grant.
All right. So my number 5 is actually 8 Billion Genius. So that did make my top 5.
Okay.
7 Secrets, my number 4, which we didn't get to talk about. Penultimate issue to the series. We find the fate of Casper, just to keep it brief. I kind of saw that coming from the first page. It was kind of written on the wall. Okay, he's not. He'll be back. There's a twist to this. So, but it was still interesting finding out how that happened. So,
right.
Noctera is my number 3, which we talked about. Naomi is actually my number 2, and Crossover is my number 1.
Gotcha. All right, we got a question here. Honest question: why do so many comic book YouTubers broadcast live while ignoring their audience? You could easily just call each other.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Good question. So I just want to say that we don't try to ignore you, and we do try to get to as many questions as possible. The issue is that we're doing a show that people can watch that like our interaction with each other while we discuss comic books. We like seeing your comments. That's why we try to display some of them, but we can't really display every single comment that's on there, right?
Yeah.
And we can't answer every single question because the show would take forever.
Yeah.
There was a time and a place where we used to do that. And literally, I kid you not, the show would go on for 3.5 hours.
3.5, 4 hours sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, and trust me, we love you guys and we appreciate all the participation. So we try to answer, and I never want to force this upon people, but like if you want your comment to guaranteed to get answered, that's why they have that super chat option on there. It's like a donation to the channel, but it's to highlight your comment so it doesn't get lost, and that's kind of why they have that option there.
Yeah. Also, when all 3 of us are on, we usually have like our own jobs. Like I do the banners, Kat usually does the comments, and Mike's doing most of the talking. So when we're one person short, we don't get to do as much of everything. So we try to juggle our best, but we do try to interact as much as possible every episode.
Yeah, so we really do appreciate you guys, and answering for the other YouTubers, I can say, like, obviously there's other YouTubers that are much bigger than we are.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes they got like 100, 200 people on there, and their chats are
it'd be impossible. Yeah.
And it's hard to even see the chat because it goes so fast.
Right.
So like I watch Gem Mint Collectibles. I've watched his live streams before, and they just keep going. And he literally doesn't have an agenda. Like he literally just his show is answering every single person's question because that's how many comments he actually gets on there. So we do our best that we can, but we do appreciate each and every one of you. Honestly, we really do. So thank you so much.
Yeah. And occasionally we do Q&A segments or shows as well.
Sure.
So
yep, absolutely. When we have more time. But today we actually didn't because we had our special guest on earlier. So yeah. All right. So now I'll go on to my top 5. So my number 5 was Saturday Morning Adventures G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. Another book with a genie in it. We talked about that earlier. Jurassic League issue 106 was my number 4. Grimm issue 1 was my number 3. Bunny Mask, The Hollow Inside. I was waiting for this book a long time. Was my number 2. This is
So
a great freaking book. I mean, this character, the Bunny Mask character, is one sick and twisted individual, but there's something about it that's just so good, and she's so intriguing, and her power set is just so weird. She's
yeah.
evil but good in a way. Like she'll
Mm,
do harm to bad people in
yeah.
the most weirdest ways. I mean, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I
I
recommend this book.
I don't know if you saw my free comic book day video on Instagram, but I did get the free comic book day Bunny Mask book. I haven't read it yet, but I got it on your recommendation because you were talking about this book. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick that one up and give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. So I'll let you know.
Yeah. I mean, the free comic book day one, like part of that story, like the first part of it and this last part of it it's like a part of this
Oh,
issue.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. There's a
Cool.
story in between that's not part of the main story. So,
Hmm.
and then my number one, 8 billion.
I knew. Yep.
Crushed it by far. I love when a book just makes me smile and like I clap and I'm like, dude, that was so odd. Like I say that to myself, and I love when a book does that. And if this did not come out, Bunny Mask would have been by far. This was the best book, just because like it seems like a simple concept, right?
Yeah.
But no one's ever done it before, so it's really cool. So
it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. Crossover it stole me this week with how deep it was. So.
It was my number 6 crossover. Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, it was a pretty good book. So I guess that's it, right? I think that's all we have for tonight. Do you have anything that you want to mention real quick before we sign off?
Yeah. If you guys any of you are wrestling fans, I have a wrestling podcast I started up recently called the Awcast. You can find it at awpodcast.com. That's awepodcast.com. That takes you to the YouTube channel. There's a couple episodes up there. I haven't done one in a week, but hopefully I'll get one out this week. Knock on wood for that. And keep watching Last Number Press across social media. We got another Kickstarter coming up soon. We just got the page approved today, so we'll have that pre-launch page up soon. It is a book called Curiouser. It's a Wonderland tale. So and it's got some twist in it. So it's a different kind of Wonderland tale. So hopefully you'll check that out. But yeah, watch my social media for that.
All right. And for me this week, you can expect, of course, my comic book haul for the week. But the big thing is if you're in the Florida area, I am going to MegaCon this weekend on Sunday. So for whatever reason, if you're at MegaCon on Sunday and if you happen to see me there, I'm going to be there. I don't have a booth. I'm not one of those people that, that are that famous that can be like, come meet me, see me at my own table, but I might see some of you guys that I might know. Like, I think Mutant Beaver Comics is going to actually be there. So I might meet my own sponsor. They live there in Canada. So it's like I might actually meet them. I'm not sure. I heard Comic Tom is going to be there. Comic Tom 101. He's going to be by the Whatnot booth as well. I think Bueller is going to be there as well with his Bueller bus. So he's going to be there. So there's going to be quite a few YouTubers there. I'm sure there's going to be more. I'll be walking the floor with my son and my son's friend. So we're going to have fun. I'll probably take some footage. If you want to take a picture with me, that would be awesome. I'd be honored to do it. I would love to talk to you for a little bit. But it's expensive. Yeah, like Serenity says, if I had money, I would go. It's $52 to walk in the door for an adult, 42 for 18 and under. But MegaCon has gotten big all of a sudden. They got new ownership within the last few years. There is some big people there this year. So, if there's a show that you want to do in the future, Brant, for Last Number, that definitely is a show definitely to go to now.
That is a show I've wanted to do since the early 2000s when Cross Gym was around.
Right.
I wanted to go as a fan, and I've wanted to set up ever since we started Last Number. That's one show that's on our list that eventually we're going to get to. So yeah.
And then you were supposed to come when Kat and I were there.
Right.
So that was fun.
We'll
That
make
was
it happen eventually, man. We'll make it
Yeah.
happen eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So we're going to head out for the night. We've definitely gone over our time that we usually do. We try to keep it from an hour and a half to 2 hours. I got to get to bed. I got to wake up in 5 hours. So, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to Comic Book Weekly YouTube channel and Comic Book Corner 2.0. Comic Book Weekly has every single episode. Mine does too, but it has it right back to back to back to back to back to back. Don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss a notification when this show is going live. Again, whether it's on Comic Book Weekly or Comic Book Corner 2.0, don't forget to give this show a thumbs up. It's very important, right? Follow us on social media stuff. I actually saw that Comic Book Weekly had Instagram posts on there today about this show.
Yep.
So Brant's doing his thing. So you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course on YouTube. So guys, until next time, this is Mike Spider Slayer and Brant Fowler signing off. Have a happy new comic book day, guys, and we will see you next week. Take care, everyone.
And get that best Archie comic.